Hello, hello. Just giving folks a second to join here. 50 Shades of Liv, welcome. Hi there, Elena. Welcome to Sunday Reset. This is week 2. I see Beatrice is here as well. And the double bottom line. Lance, welcome, Mr. Fancy Pants. And hi, sis. Thank you for joining. So welcome to week 2 of Sunday Reset. It is such an honor to be here with you all. Thank you for taking time out of your Sunday evening to be here with me. I think this is going to be a very rewarding and fulfilling topic. It appears that 67% of those of you who voted for today's topic chose embracing change. And I think we can all agree that no doubt we are all, every single one of us, enduring and being confronted with some change in our lives. And so I just want to welcome you all. I see Nick is here as well. And hey, Carol, so glad to see that you are able to join live. Aaron is here as well. So this is a really important topic. And I would say that building the capacity to embrace change, especially in this moment, when I don't know about you guys, but I feel like the plot twists that life keeps presenting us are happening just a little too frequently for my liking and a little too often, right? And I think if we can learn to understand that the pace of change right now, the speed of life that we're all experiencing, is the fastest it has ever been. And unfortunately, the slowest that it will ever be. So buckle up. Get ready, because life and the speed of life that we're going through, and subsequently the changes that we're all being forced to endure, whether we like them or not, will only continue. And so what's your game plan, right? And I'd like to offer you some perspectives on how you can start to cultivate the capacity to be able to manage change. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome, Elle. I see you. Carolina is here as well, and Aaron is with us. Wonderful to have you guys. So the first thing that I want to talk about, I take a very brain-based perspective. And for those of you who don't know me, I am a transformational leadership coach. I'm the owner of Transcend LLC and a mindfulness instructor. I take a very integrated brain science and mindfulness perspective to understanding life and helping clients and individuals really navigate life through those lenses. And so what I'm going to offer today is some of the brain science to help you understand why change is so difficult and what happens for us from a brain science perspective when we are navigating change. Hi there, Katharina. Nice to have you. Thank you for joining. So here's a few things that I need you to understand. The first thing is that our brain categorizes our experiences and what we perceive in our lives in 3 ways. Things that we like, things that we don't like, and maybe just things that we are indifferent about, right? We are also wired to want more of the things that we like and reject the things that we don't like. Am I right? I mean, that's just fundamentally how the brain is wired. And think about that. The problem is that the more we desire something, it can lead to attachment or craving, which can then lead to uncontrollable addiction. And that's where we start getting out of control. And this is not just for drugs and alcohol, by the way. This also applies to habits that we have, customs that we have. You know, if you have a morning routine around going to the gym and that's just how you spend your weekends on a Saturday morning, when you're not able to do that, that's difficult for us to adapt to, right? We like doing the things that we enjoy and we resist doing the things that we don't enjoy. I mean, that's just the fundamental law of how our brain is wired. Conversely, when we reject things, that can lead to resistance. And here is the important thing, because this is why change is so hard. I want you to remember this. The degree to which you resist change will determine the degree to which you suffer. So think about that for a minute. Hi there, Marsha, and hey, Kat. Wonderful to see you both. So when we think about all the changes, and I want you guys to really reflect on this, what would you say is a significant change that you are enduring in your life right now? COVID-19 for sure has introduced shifts in how we live, our lifestyle, new job, a change in job, kids being homeschooled and parents being forced to homeschool their kids, which is something they've never had to do before. Think about and identify. I want you to name. You can even say this out loud. And if you'd like to, go ahead and type this in the chat. Hi there, Anna. What is a change that you are being forced to endure right now that you might be struggling with? I want you to reflect on that. And if you were to gauge on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say is the degree to which you are resisting this change? And now resistance can show up in many different ways. It can show up in terms of not wanting it to be that way. It can show up in the form of blaming. It can show up in the form of complaining. It can show up in the form of wishing that something was different than the way it is. That resistance, the more that we resist, the more that we push away, the more that we wish something was different, will determine the degree to which we suffer. Welcome, Taylor. And so that's the first place to start, is to start to wrap your head around and really have a moment of truth with yourself and determine what degree are you resisting that which you are experiencing right now. Because that's going to determine the extent to which you're suffering, right? Another thing I think is important for you to understand, and it took me, a while to appreciate this, but I think if you can learn to appreciate and accept this universal law of impermanence, welcome, Helena, we can learn to embrace change more effectively, more skillfully. Now, this universal law of permanence really suggests that everything in life has a beginning and an end. Life itself has a beginning and an end. Relationships have a beginning and an end. Movies have a beginning and an end. Plants, as they grow, have a beginning and an end, right? And so if we can understand this very basic universal law, then we can start to accept and even appreciate what I would say is the ever-changing nature of life. Fancy Pants Land says that the distance from loved ones, physically, expression of resistance, momentary anger, periodic depression, and incessant rabbit holing a situation in which I have no control. Amen. Thank you for sharing that, Lance. And Carol says, ailments with sister's family. Spouse had stroke 18 months ago. So sorry to hear that. With limited mobility, and last night she fell and broke hip and I can't help them. I can only imagine how difficult that must be. Oh my goodness, Carol. Thank you for sharing that. Welcome, Mindful Parenting. And so each one of us has a version of this change. But I want you to think about the nature of life as if watching the waves in an ocean. Have you ever noticed how the waves, they come and then they go? That's the nature of life, my friends, right? Think about trees that drop their leaves during winter. Hi there, Kate. If trees did not drop their leaves during winter, then they would die. And so impermanence has a bit of a double-edged sword, right? Because on one hand, it means that we are forced to let go of things, to let go of people, to let go of conveniences and circumstances and life as we know it. Impermanence forces us to let go of that. And on the other hand, impermanence is what makes life possible. Think about this. Hi there, Nat, and hi there, Kate. Without impermanence, how would babies grow? Without impermanence, how would the sick get better? Impermanence is meeting and parting. It's falling in love and falling out of love. Impermanence is the very nature of life, that this too shall pass, that this too, that life as we know it, will change. And so if we can accept that, then we start to move in the flow of life as opposed to resisting the inevitability of change. It's just a part of life. I tell my 7-year-old niece when she starts complaining that things aren't going the way she would like, it's just life, right? That's just how it is. And in the words of India Irie, the only thing that's constant in the world is what? Change, right? It's the only thing that's constant. And as I shared before, for those of you who just joined, public announcement here, that the pace of change is the fastest that it has ever been in the history of our human civilization and the slowest that it will ever be. So buckle up. We have to learn to skillfully navigate change and be able to embrace it, right? And once we can do that, we can transform the challenges that we're having and the difficulties, because we can learn to appreciate that this too shall pass. What I'd like to do now is invite you all, Yancy and Shannon, who just joined, and Nat and A. Lewis. We're about to do a brief meditation. I will do this for about 5 minutes, and then I'll share with you some of the specific strategies that you can take into your life. Very practical application of ways that you can start to cultivate this skill of embracing change effectively, okay? So what we'll do in this 5-minute practice is we'll really observe the nature of life, observe the evolving nature of life. We will focus on the breath, we'll focus on the changing of our heartbeat, we'll focus on the very mood and energy and the presence of the space that is around us. And when we can notice the evolving nature of life, we can learn to move with the evolving nature of life. Are you with me? I want to see some thumbs up, smiley faces, hearts. Are we good to transition into a meditation? All right. Well, what I'm going to ask you to do is just transition into a seat that is comfortable for you. So go ahead now and make any adjustments that are helpful to allow you to do that. If you're sitting in a chair, you might want to place your feet firmly planted on the ground. I'll invite you to find a spot either on the wall or the floor in front of you, and if you're comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes, but just giving you a couple options there. And so just really priming our minds for this practice, I'll invite you now to either close your eyes or identify the spot that you would like to use as your point of focus for this practice. Closing our eyes and holding a soft gaze on this spot really allows us to transition our focus from the tizzy and external movement around us and really shift your attention inwards. I'll ask you to see if you can locate your breath in your body. And so check in with the different parts of your body and see if you can sense where in your body are you experiencing your breath the most. Noticing the sensation of the breath on the nostrils or the back of your throat. Perhaps the movement of your chest moving up and down. Or maybe the movement in your belly pushing in and out. Or perhaps the sound of your breath, like the waves of an ocean. Wherever it is for you, choose one location in your body and really tune in to your experience of the breath. Now, without trying to control your breath in any way, you're simply observing the nature of your breath. And so, what do you notice about your breath? If you're just joining us, I invite you to join in on the meditation, finding a moment of stillness, observing the nature of the breath. And what I'd like you to do is imagine that you are sitting on a beach. And so fill in the details of the scene. Imagine the blue skies. It's about 81 degrees. The wind is blowing against your face. And you can notice the waves coming in, coming out. See if you can hear the sound of the waves. On your next inhale, imagine the waves coming in towards you on the shore. And on the exhale, releasing the breath and imagining the waves receding back into the ocean. And so at your own pace, synchronizing your breath with the waves. On the in-breath, wave coming into the shore, and on the out-breath, wave going out. And now this change that you are experiencing in your life, reflect on what is it about this change that you are resisting. The feeling of helplessness, the feeling of not having control. What is it about this change that you are resisting? On your next exhale, I'd like you to imagine the waves taking this resistance with it back into the ocean, allowing you to let that resistance go. With intention, releasing that resistance on your out-breath. And just taking a moment to notice what that feels like for you. Is it hard to let go? Do you find yourself grasping? And what is it like to notice the waves coming in and receding back into the ocean? The evolving, ever-changing nature of life. When you're ready, I'll invite you to open your eyes and come back to our IG Live. I see a couple people have joined, so just want to say welcome to Sandra and Chain Breaking Movement and Mariah and Britt. Welcome, welcome. So we've just ended our meditation, an opportunity for us to observe the evolving nature of life. Give me a thumbs up, smiley face, frowny face. Give me a sense of what that experience was like for you. just interested to see how you experience that. I'm seeing a lot of hearts, so I'm glad to see that some of you found value in that. And what I would do is just invite you to remind yourself of that in any moment when you are going through some difficulty. If you're noticing the resistance, if you're noticing the tightness that you have around something that is difficult for you, just remember the movement of the waves and remember that this too shall pass. Lance talk about the loss of control, right? Recognizing that given the situation that he's in, it's really difficult for him to accept that he's out of control. How many of you would relate to that? That life is bringing you these new changes that are just out of your control, and there's something really scary. Carol says frightening. There's something really frightening about just letting go, right? Embracing change is about taking control, taking back command of your life. It's about reclaiming your life's agenda. It's about sitting in the driver's seat of your life. John Kabat-Zinn says that we can't stop the waves, but we can certainly learn to surf. And what I would like to invite you all to focus on is building your own surfboard where you can be the captain of your life, the captain of your ship. The first is the circle of control. I want you to imagine there's a lot of tips and techniques around embracing change. I do a whole 5-session program around this, but I want to focus on one that I think is the most powerful, which is the circle of control. And I want you to imagine that you're standing in front of a dartboard, right? The outer circle is the things that you have no control out of. Can you change the weather? Can you change the traffic patterns? Have you ever tried erasing permanent marker from a whiteboard? It's just not worth it, right? There's nothing that you can do. And so why waste your time and effort trying to change it? Listen, we all have limited levels of energy, right? And so we have to be smart about where we're putting that limited energy. Why waste effort and energy and time trying to change things that will never change? It's a lot smarter to invest that energy, that time, into something that you can actually change, right? And so that brings me to the middle circle of your dartboard, right? These are the things that maybe you don't have full control over, but you can certainly influence, right? And so thinking about a decision that your boss or a colleague is making, you can influence their decision. And so you can put some effort into that, but really the top score is the center of the dartboard, right? That's where you're going to score the highest in terms of the return on the investment of energy that you're putting in. And so take the situation that you're in and put the factors of this situation that are most difficult for you. Reflect on what it is that you're resisting. Chart them on your circle of control. Put the things that are outside of your control in the outer circle. Choose to accept it, right? I'm not saying forget about it. I'm not saying to ignore it. I'm saying just choose to accept that there is nothing I can do about these factors on the periphery. And so we don't put any energy or effort into that, right? And then decide, what do I have influence over? It might take some effort. I can't change it like this, but I can influence it with some degree of effort. You put that in the middle circle. And then you've got, what do you call it? Aaron would probably remember this, the bullseye. The bullseye. That, my friends, is what you want to focus your time and your effort and the very limited energy that we all have. The bullseye. So identify, what is it in this bullseye that I can actually change? What is it about this situation that I'm struggling with that I have some control over? And what am I going to do about this? Is there a conversation that I need to have? Is there some action that I need to take to shift how I'm experiencing this situation? The second thing I'll share with you, and then I'll open up for questions. If you have any questions, just go ahead and place them in the chat or comments. The second thing is gratitude. We talked about this last week, and so if you were on the session, you would have heard me talk about the power of gratitude and positive neuroplasticity, right? From a brain science perspective, what's the benefit of gratitude? But in the context of embracing change, here's where gratitude fits in. When we are able to replace the disturbance of negativity, of resistance, of aversion, of rejection that we bring to change, then we can really infuse in our lives a sense of enoughness, a sense of sufficiency, a sense of gratitude, which can then balance how we experience life. Not too much desire, not too much aversion, because then we're out of balance, and the way that we experience life feels like we're on a seesaw trying to balance it on our own, right? But when we can bring gratitude to the things that we are resisting, so think about that for a minute. In this situation that you are struggling with, this change that you are being confronted with right now, in addition to the things that are in your bullseye, within your circle of control that you can actually do something about, what else about this situation are you most grateful for? Listen, if the change of pace and the speed of life is the fastest it has ever been now and the slowest it will ever be, that in itself is something that we cannot control. And so what I'm empowering each of you to do is to really be intentional and build mastery around how you're going to experience the experience of life. That is your choice. That is what puts you in the position of power, because the waves will come and they will either drown you, or you can learn to ride the waves of life and surf on, my friends. So we've got 2 more minutes. I'm just going to leave it open for any questions, comments. Share with me what about this session really stands out for you. If there's something that you are curious to learn more about, what are you taking with you from today's session? Go ahead and share that in the chat box. And while you guys are doing that, I'll just share in these last 2 minutes that we have 2 more Sunday Reset sessions in partnership with Download Cherry. And next week's session, we're talking about embracing hardship and really managing difficult emotions and learning to appreciate the intelligence that our emotions can really arm us with and equip us with. And then the last session, we'll spend some time around how do you cultivate a mindful life, a mindful way of living? How do you integrate the practice of mindfulness into your life? And so for those of you who are interested in cultivating mindfulness as part of your life, I think that will be a really helpful session for you. In the meantime, please do DM us, send me messages. You can also find me at Transcend LLC for more tips, resources, and information on mindfulness. It's been wonderful spending this time with you all. And I will end with a quote from John O'Donohue, which is an amazing poet. I love his work. And he shared, "I would love to live as the river flows, carried by the surprise of its own unfolding." And so just allow the curves of life to carry you down the river. And think about that. Is it easier to row up the river, or to allow the natural flow of the river to carry you? Have a wonderful week, my friends. Erin, thank you so much. And I will see you guys next week. Thank you all. Bye-bye.